decades of experience in technology industry. Mr. Pavan Thata currently serves as a Vice President and General Manager of Radware Innovation Center. He joined Radware as a part of Radware's acquisition of Shield Square, a market leader in the bot management industry, where he was co-founder and CEO. Prior to founding Shield Square, he was the co-founder and CEO at a two-factor authentication startup named ArrayShield. Pavan is a gold medalist in electronics and communication from NIT Warangal and completed his masters from IIT Bombay. Please welcome Mr. Pavan Thata.
Check. You can hear me? Good morning, everyone. So, how many of you watched Jailer movie? Okay, and among you, how many watched the first day, first show? Okay, great. So, so this will not be like uh, your normal lectures like others. So we started with Jailer movie. That's the reason, right? So I want to make it as interactive as possible. Right? Feel free to ask questions. Be part of this whole session as well. Yeah. Uh, so the reason I asked about Jailer movie is that, by the way, I also watched first day first show in Telugu, not in Tamil. Uh, there was a news item after the movie got released that there was a company in Chennai where they booked the first day first show tickets for all their employees, thousands of their employees. Yeah, any of you heard that? Yeah, company called Freshworks, right? So they started in 2010. I know them quite well. Girish, who is the founder of Freshworks, is also an investor in the startup that I have started. I've seen them grow from their starting days in 2010, where they started in a very small fashion. Right, at that time they used to be called Fresh Desk, right, where they built a small support desk software, right, where I mean all of us interact with support teams like say customer support for a mobile things like that, right? So they have built a small software to help them manage the tickets. Whenever we raise a complaint, that's a support ticket. So they started in a very small fashion, right? And fast forward from 2010 to 2021, they were listed in NASDAQ at a valuation of 1 lakh crores, right? So it's not a small number, right? So that's an example of what one can do through a startup of starting small, right? And but dreaming big, making it big, right? And that's just one example, right? Close to us in Chennai, headquartered in Chennai. And there are many more such startups. And if you heard Joho, Joho is another startup, quite famous, again based in Chennai, where they have a lot of teams based in rural village called 10KC, right? So, and of course, there are a lot of global startups, right, that you keep hearing, which are now household names, be it Google, WhatsApp, Facebook. All of them have started as small startups. So I was also quite fortunate to be involved in two startups. And the second startup, which was also quite successful and acquired by an Israeli company. So I am here today in front of you to share my journey and also give you some pointers on how you can start thinking in that direction, right? I know that, okay, you just joined the college now. right? You're probably not looking at starting today, right? Or probably have not decided even that you want to start, right? But I want to just give you an idea on how you can start thinking today on the skills that you can learn, right? On how you can utilize these 4 years you are going to be in college to probably start in future, right? Or even if you decide not to start, right? If you want to pursue your own path, be it in a corporate career or any direction, right? What you can do using this startup mindset in these 4 years, what all you can do and learn. So let me start with my journey. In fact, 22 years back, so this is my second visit to Tiruchi. I was here 22 years back. At the time, I was a student. I was studying my engineering from NIT Varangal. Um, so one day I think it was probably in the second year of my engineering. I was just looking at the notice board in electronics communication department where I was studying. And there was a paper presentation contest in a college, engineering college in Tiruchi. I thought, okay, it sounds interesting. I applied for it. I never thought I'll get selected, but luckily I got selected, and I was in Tiruchi to participate in that competition. In fact, I traveled from Varangal to Chennai in train, and from Chennai to here by bus. And that's the first time I watched a Tamil movie as well, without understanding a single word of Tamil. I'm sure many of you will go through that or already went through in the last 1 week. So I was there here 22 years back in Trichy. It's good to come back here again. So and in fact, that was my first paper presentation that I did while in college. And post that, I was fortunate again to participate in multiple other paper presentation competitions. Probably I presented in 20 events across India, various papers. And also during the time, I was also part of a lot of cultural activities, a lot of EC association activities. I was the secretary there. We organized a lot of international events, etc. during that time. Right. So all of that has given me a lot of exposure. We'll talk about those things as we move forward in the lecture as well. But yeah, that was a starting point where I had a lot of learning during my engineering college days, doing a lot of activities outside the subjects, right? I mean, though I did that, I happened to get the gold medal in college as well. That's a different story. I'm not going to talk about that much. But I think beyond the academics, I think I did spend a lot of time, and that was quite useful for me to acquire various skills. And 2004 is when I passed out from the college. I joined Philips Innovation Campus in Bangalore as a software engineer. There I was there 2 years building embedded products. That was my first industry experience. Post which I decided that, okay, I wanted to start on my own. And for that, I wanted to do an MBA program. So I did my MBA program from IIT Bombay School of Management. Again, had a very good time there. Interacted with a lot of startups. Interacted with a lot of founders of how to build various products. And during that time, in fact, I attended a lot of conferences in Mumbai, and there was an article at the time on the top 20 influential people in India. And in the 2 years in my MBA, I happened to meet 10 of them in various events, like including NR Narayan Murthy and many other industry leaders. So I had good experience interacting with a lot of industry leaders and startups. And then I joined again back in the corporate world in a company called Photon in Chennai, where we were building a lot of interesting products for clients in US, Silicon Valley. A lot of startups were our clients, so we were building the products. So understood about how to go about building the products, etc. And in 2010, I decided to start on my own with my younger brother, Rakesh, who also did his research from IIT Madras in cybersecurity. So we teamed up and started building our product. And that was the first company. It was called Array Shield. It was a two-factor authentication system. Like a lot of you will be using unlock function in Android through a pattern. Right, so we had similar patented technology at the time. Very interesting technology. We were really excited about the potential of the technology, and we started building the product and build the product and started selling to customers. We got very good traction. We have got customers like MRF, all of you would be knowing the name, like Gati, which is into logistics, and a lot of banks we were working with. But we really couldn't scale the business, and actually have decided after 3 years that it's not really growing as we expected, and we had to pivot to something else. Right? In short, in the 3 years, we made all the possible mistakes that one can do in a startup. That we built an interesting product. We actually had good customers, but also on the process made a lot of mistakes. So we have kind of wound up that company and started our second company, which is called Shield Square, which is into bot detection industry. So very briefly about bot detection. So what we do is we help online businesses to differentiate what is good traffic on their site and what is bad traffic. So that is like, right, nowadays there are a lot of bot programs through which we can automate web browsing or accessing applications. So we basically detect and block the unwanted bot programs on the website. So we did that. So that was like our second startup, Shield Square. And here we learned from the mistakes of our first startup. Right? As I mentioned, our journey in the first startup was more like we built a cool product and started selling it to customers. This time we decided we'll do it other way. Right? We'll first go to the customers, ask them what is their problem, and then build something that can solve their problem. That's a big change for us. A lot of us think that, okay, we have interesting idea, we have creative stuff, we want to build something and somebody magically will come and use it. It unfortunately doesn't happen that way. We first need to start validating the customer need, what are their problems, and then build for it. We learned it tough way, right, after 3 years. And this time, yeah, we learned from it and started building this product. And we had indiaproperty.com as our first customer. In fact, we didn't have anything to show to them in a portal or a website or an app when they started paying us. It was just an Excel sheet that we sent to them with list of all malicious IP addresses, etc. Right? So when they have a big need, and if we solve the problem, right, a lot of fancy stuff is not really needed. So that's where we started. But post that, obviously, yeah, we have built a full product, etc. And we started getting global traction. So starting with some India customers, now we had a lot of customers from Europe. And then one fine day, there was a customer who was a CTO in Bloomberg in US, very big financial firm. He was searching online, I want to stop bot traffic on our application. And we were at the time using Google Ads to promote our services for the specific keyword that our customers search. And he clicked on our ad, came to our website, and signed up to our website, to our application. We also made it very easy to use, like anybody who comes online can just download and start using the product. So, and that was like, finally they did a trial and they really liked the product. They evaluated the products across the globe, but they liked our product and they signed the contract, which was in few crores, right? But all through, I mean, we not even met that person in person. It was all through online. That's the power of technology, the power the new world that we live in, right? And I'm talking about this 10 years back, not today. And we got very good traction post that. And a few years down the line, we became the market leaders in that space globally, uh, in the bot detection, which is a niche area, but we were the market leaders across the globe. The top websites across the world started using our solution. And at the time, we had somebody from Radware, which is a cybersecurity global leader, listed in NASDAQ US, based in Israel. They reached out to us. They said, we want to acquire you. Why? Because they had multiple other security products and they were looking at adding the best bot mitigation product into their portfolio. And the acquisition happened. And interestingly, that was the first time Israeli security company acquired an Indian security company for the technology, for the product and the business, right? Because as you all, thank you. As you know, Israel is very well known for security, right? And they acquiring Indian company for security things was like a real first in the world. That was again 4 or 5 years back. Suppose that I decided to continue working with them post acquisition, managing the India team, and starting with our bot mitigation product, we now expanded building multiple other products in our India Innovation Center. So we have presence both in Bangalore, Chennai, around 120 people working on really cutting edge security product development as well as selling it globally. So this is my, I would say, short, not so short, career journey, right? On how I started, like you guys, 22 years back in college, and various things that I went through to be here and share this story with us, with all of you. So, any questions so far? Anything you want me to cover in more detail? Any specific questions you want to listen in this session? I graduated in 2004 from engineering. I started this in 2010, so it's quite after the college. I did my MBA in between, also worked for 4 years in 2 companies before I started. Any other questions? You're good? Okay. Next. I'm doing next slide. Hmm? Going? Okay. Okay, so let's start with why startups, right? Uh, what is so interesting, so aspirational about startups? Any thoughts? Why should anybody think of doing a startup? People serve the society. Okay, great. Making living easier. Okay. There's no boss. Yeah. Yeah, but actually, startups will have a lot of bosses in jobs. Actually, we have one boss in startup. All customers are bosses. All investors are bosses. All employees are bosses as well. But yes, yeah. Answer from there. Scope of improvement, improvement. Yes, yeah, yeah. All are very true, right? I think it's all boils down to solving a problem, creating an innovative solution, and creating an impact. Right? I think startups do provide that. Right. So, like for example, let's take WhatsApp. Right. The, all of you know the impact it has created. It has started as a startup. In fact, if maybe some of you are already aware, the founders of WhatsApp applied a job in Facebook. They got rejected, right? And they started building an app, right? And Facebook had to pay by WhatsApp for billions of dollars, right? They should have hired that guy first place easily, right? uh, so startups provide that opportunity, right, to create a huge impact, to solve real problems, right, and do it fast, right? So I think that's the core of uh, startups. And probably at this time, I wanted to have this question: how many of you might want to do startup in future, right? Before you retire, I'm not saying today, tomorrow, right? I want to even try thinking about doing a startup. Excellent. That's very nice. And how many of you want to join a job in a corporate and grow, right? I mean, even if you want to do startup after 10 years, you might want to join job, right? After college. So how many of you want to join a job in a corporate? Okay. Assuming everybody. Okay. So I think, so whatever I'm going to cover, right, is going to be applicable for all of you, right, who want to start up in future, and also for others who probably don't want to start up but want to join a job and grow in your careers in the jobs. Right? So I will keep it very generic, though I will be taking examples, uh, more case studies from the startup world. Yeah, yeah. We talked about why startups. And I also want to spend some time on uh, why startups today and why startups today in India. So as you might be all hearing across in news, etc., these are the golden decades for Indian economy. Right? India is one of the fastest growing economies. Right? It's not only fastest, it's also one of the biggest economies. That there are so many opportunities that India is throwing. Right? There are so, I mean, we all think that there are so many problems. More from an entrepreneurial standpoint or startup standpoint, each of these problems represent a opportunity, right, to create something new, to make things better. So there cannot be much better time than what you guys are basically going to graduate, right, next couple of years to start in India. Right? There's a huge economy, and like, let's look at the, say, UPI transactions, right? I travel across the globe. Everybody is amazed in what we do in the UPI transactions, right? It's much easier to transact digitally in India, right, or say in a remote village in India than in, say, Silicon Valley, San Francisco, right? So we are much, much ahead globally in terms of the digital adoption, especially starting with the UPI transactions as prime example. And it's just a start. We are going to see so much uh, changes, right? So many new innovations coming in India, right? And all of this are huge opportunities for startups to leverage this. And the old ways of working are going to change. It's a huge opportunity for new startup ideas, right, to uh, kind of make their presence felt in the new economy. Right, and then the huge another advantage we have is great talent. The last couple of decades, a lot of people, I mean, many of your seniors, people who have graduated in the past, right, they are now working with global big companies like be it Google, Amazon, Tesla, etc., where a lot of people are Indians, right, and a lot of cutting edge work happens in India. You look at Google, the teams that do in Bangalore, etc. It's no less than the work that happens in Google San Francisco. So that way, there is a huge talent of people who are very well versed with technology, right, and solving great problems, right. So I think this is a huge, I mean, awesome combination of the economy that we are living in and the talent we have. Right, it's great time to start up, right. And I also want to add that this is also great time to stay and build in India. When I graduated 20 years back, a lot of my friends ended up going to US, right? Because of greater opportunities, more advanced technology, more interesting work that's there. It's no more true, right? I know a lot of entrepreneurs who are not Indians, who are like, no relation to India, or in Europe, US, coming to India, starting companies. A lot of investors across the globe are coming to India, investing money, right? So we started seeing the initial signs of what we call like reverse brain drain. People across the world are coming to India, looking at the great economy, great opportunities to make an impact, right? So I think this is a huge uh, opportunity again and a great time to stay and build in India. Whether you are starting up or whether you are joining corporate careers, it's a great time. The best of best are in India, right? And I think that's a great time for all of you. So now I want to spend some time on what are the various stages involved in a startup, what uh, doing startup, what are various stages one go through, etc. So again, any questions so far? We good? Okay. So I think the first stage of any startup, right, is ideation, right? So which idea you want to pursue, which problem you want to solve. So again, as I was telling during my example, I mean, my startup days, right? Um, there are always a lot of innovative ideas around. Okay. Um, that's not a big deal, right? I mean, if all of us start writing down our ideas today, we'll probably get some 1,000 ideas in next 15 minutes, right? So many ideas that one can do. So getting an idea is a very small part of starting up, right? The real part is validating the idea, right? Again, validating the idea from the right people, right? If you are trying to build something for doctors, right? And you ask all your friends here, will this work, right? That's not validating, right? Because your friends will not have a clue on what doctors need or what doctors would like, right? So validating the idea with the right people, with the right customers who are going to use your product, that's going to be extremely important. In fact, I mean, there is a lot of research that went in. It's called customer development. We all keep hearing words like product development. Yeah, you have a product idea, you build that product, but there is more to it, which is customer development. Really understand the customer. Like for example, if I want to build an app for students, engineering college students, right? I need to understand it from you, what's your typical day look like, right? I need to also decide which profile of students I am aiming at, right? How you interact with this particular app, right? What are your preferences? What are your likes? What are your dislikes, right? So again, very specific to the target segment we are aiming at, right? So I think that becomes extremely critical, right? And now we have a lot of tools, right? We can do market research, we can do surveys online, we can reach out to people. So validate your ideas as much as time we spend building product. We need to, in fact, spend more time validating the idea. That gives us the real insights whether this product will work, etc. And this is relatively much easier, right, to do than really going and building the product and later realizing that nobody is interested in using the product. So that's a very important stage of startup, validating the idea. And then it's about building a prototype. You don't necessarily need to build a full product once you have validated the idea. There's a term called MVP, which is minimum viable product. The minimum product that is needed to validate that, okay, it meets the customer's requirements. You don't need any fancy stuff, right, to start with, and all hundreds of features. Start with a small product, minimum, it's called minimum viable product, and get it in front of customers. You're trying to build an app for students, build some small functionality and give it to all your target segment users. students and get feedback, right? That's like more like iterative development. Get the feedback and then based on the feedback, add the new feature. See, if this works, good. This doesn't work, remove it, add another feature, right? So that's a typical steps involved in building any app or any startup idea. So any questions on these aspects of startup? Anything else you guys want to know on stages of startup? Okay, it's a very interesting question, very relevant as well. In the next slides, I cover about it, right? But I think more than an MBA, what really helps is working in a startup, right? Where you get to know the practical aspects of all the things that happen in a startup without taking any risk, right? I think that's extremely important. And you really don't need an MBA. You can also leverage your 4 years, 5 years in engineering, also to learn all the skills that are needed for a startup. We'll also talk about that in the next slides. Any other questions? Yeah, okay, yeah. So I think in this slide, I think it's not really comprehensive. That's why I asked this question. So there is a lot of other elements in terms of doing a startup, right? It's about raising funds. We'll talk about it, and also building a team, right? And also selling the product, right? You just build the product and validating, it's not enough, right? You need to actually sell product and make money, right? And you need to market the product. You need to brand your product, right? So there are like multiple other aspects of startup as well, right? And specifically on funding, see, the thing is now is a time where there is a lot of startup funding available, right? I think even before funding, one needs to look at associating right advisors and mentors. Because when somebody has to invest in your startup, they want to know that, okay, do you have right set of people supporting, backing you, right? So that I can really give my money, right? So that validation can be achieved once you have a good advisory board, mentors who have been there, who are experts in that field, who have started in the past, etc. They might not be investing in the company, but if they are part of the initiative as an advisor, etc., and they support you, right? They are available for reference checks, etc. I think that's the first step. And then there are also a lot of incubators, accelerators that are available who take some amount of equity in the company, but provide you all the support. So I think those are the initial two steps that are needed. And once that is there, I think through them or through your own network, you can approach uh, angel investors, seed investors who can give the initial amount of money for you to build the product and validate the idea, right? And only post validation, post getting some customer traction is when the bigger venture capital firms, etc., will become interested in funding you. Did I answer your question? Okay, so that's on the fundraising, right? And yeah, so that's like broadly the various phases of startups. Any other questions? Okay. Basic things, can you elaborate in the sense? Okay. Yeah, excellent question. Yeah. Skills. Okay. So I think you can predict what I'm going to say probably. So yeah, so I think I want to spend the rest of this session on giving you more practical aspects on how you can spend your time in college, right, to build the needed skills for you to become successful in your corporate careers, to land in jobs, to grow in jobs, to start on your own, etc. Right. Um, I remember in our college, we have something called digital library. I think that I don't know if any such things are there these days, right, where there are a lot of computers with connected to internet. We can search for things, etc. there. So what we used to do is we search for some research paper or some technology paper. There will be a search results will come. I don't think Google was popular. We were using Alta Vista at the time, and there will be some PDF. We used to say right click, save as, right, in download folder, go for lunch, and come back. The PDF will open. Right. Those were the days uh, we were. I mean, that's what it takes to kind of get access to information, right? Fast forward today, I mean, yeah, you know how easy it is to get any information that you need, right? So now information is available everywhere, right? So it all boils down to how you apply those stuff, right? How you gain mastery over that practically, right? Because now we can ask ChatGPT, it will give you all the answers for any question that you ask, right? So just memorizing some stuff is really not useful anymore, right? So it's all about practically gaining expertise, right? I think that's a very essential skill, right? It cannot be learned just by reading the textbook and just writing the answers in the exam, right? You need to really get the practical aspects of it, right? So I strongly urge you to use this couple of years of time you have in college to practically apply all that you learn, right? It could be through some mini projects, can be participating in various hackathons, start building stuff, right? So I think that's when you will actually uh, know things, right? I think that's extremely important. Make it as much real world applicable as possible, right? And all of you are in the electronics, computers related stream. So there are a lot of things that you can do practically, right? You don't need to just limit yourself to theoretical understanding. I think that's very, very important for a startup, right? That practical understanding, etc. And more than this is the second aspect, the softer aspects, right? Not only for startup. Uh, I used to keep saying, I mean, uh, there was a lot of examples as well. A lot of times, I mean, in class, we have first benchers who are, I'm not referring to you guys, but in general, who study very hard. And there are backbenchers, again, not referring to you guys, right, who have more fun. And people think that, okay, the first benchers will grow in their careers a lot, etc. But a lot of times what happens is these first benchers work for the last benchers, right? So that's why, I mean, don't everybody rush to last bench and don't quote me outside this room, okay, that I said this. Uh, so there is a lot of importance for soft skills, right? Because again, right, there are tools like ChatGPT, etc., which does work. You ask it to write a program, it will write a program. So what will you go out in your jobs and do, right? ChatGPT can do a lot of things. Building an application, it can build an app also nowadays, right? So there is a lot of things around soft skills. So it's all about working in teams. How is your communication skill? How are you listening, right? All of us want to talk, right? We want others to listen, but that's not, unfortunately, the world works, right? You need to listen, you need to work with the team collaboratively and make things happen. That's how things are in the real world, I mean, the corporate world or in startups, right? It's not no more a single person activity. You need to be part of the team, right? And you need to collaborate, take help of others, right? So a lot of these communication, interpersonal skills are extremely important. Presentation skills, sales skills, right? You will not believe, right? I mean, in our organization, we have a lot of PhDs from IITs working in us on very advanced stuff, machine learning, artificial intelligence, etc. They build awesome models, etc. but nobody uses it in the rest of the organization. Then there's no use of those models, of those teams. And the biggest skill that is helping them is the sales skills. The last one you will be thinking is a PhD in artificial intelligence from IIT needs a sales skill, right? But that's the most important skill because they need to convince other teams why their model is useful for them, right? Not just throw technical jargon on this has this anomaly detection, blah, blah, blah. It's about hearing what their needs are and convincing them on how this advanced artificial intelligence system will solve their problem. So there is a huge need for sales skills. Everything that you do once you come out of college will need sales skill. Right? And it's not an easy skill to learn. Right? It needs a lot of practice. I remember during my MBA days, I was involved in a startup where I was asked to do a cold call to a HR person in a company and sell the product. Right? So I had to call a random number. I mean, listen, I got a list of contact numbers of HRs and I started making calls. Right? It was very, very tough. I mean, I make a call and my voice stops. Right? I say hello, hello. So it's not easy, right? But it's a very, very essential skill, right? And one needs to practice, right? Like for example, right, for today's session, I'm an introvert, right? Speaking on stage is all not for me. I get tense. Even today, I'm tense speaking in front of you, right? That too, after 20 years, after doing multiple startups, all the things that I did, I still have to work hard, right? I started till 11:30. I was preparing on what I should say to you guys, right? So this is like a lifelong learning, right? I mean, we need to keep investing in learning new skills. And college days are great time for you to build these skills, especially the soft skills aspects, right? And then networking, right? A lot of things happen in companies, in startups, uh, not because what you know, it happens because of who you know, right? It's very important to have this networking with, I mean, obviously all of you guys will be friends, etc. But it has to be beyond that, right? Your batch, right? It has to be with seniors, with your professors, right? I mean, in Trichy, you have other colleges, right? You have IIM Trichy, NIT Trichy, right? You need to network with students there, right? Probably collaborate on joint activities, etc. Right? And you might have a lot of seniors in the industry, in your relatives, or like from your towns, etc. You need to make it a habit, right, to reach out to them, understand what they do, right? Just learn from okay what they are doing. Just hear them out and be in touch, right? So the people that you know will play extremely important role, right, in startup or in your careers, right? So and this is also very difficult thing to a lot of people, right, who are probably introverts to think, okay, if somebody asks me, I will tell, but me going to someone and initiating the conversation and asking for help might not be natural to us. So you need to spend a lot of time cultivating this skill. Yeah. So these are, I think, a lot of essential skills one need, both in terms of technology and the soft skills aspect, for you to really succeed in a startup. These are all foundational things. But beyond that is where, I mean, yeah, you have the relevance of the idea, the market potential, the market opportunity, and the right team, etc. Right? All that comes later. Does this answer your question? Any other questions? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, actually, a lot of challenges. So as I said, in the initial days, it was like validating if there is sufficient customer need, right? And then there is a lot of challenges we faced in building the team, right? Again, startup, we need a team to make things happen, right? Then again, network of people that we know who believe in you and join you, right, is a big thing, and attracting talent, right? There are like smart people, but they want to join, say, big companies, right? And there are people who probably want to join startups because they didn't get any other option, but they cannot probably perform, right? So how to attract the right set of people? So that, and also there will be a lot of things around conflict resolutions, right? So there are a lot of, I mean, as you grow in the startup, right, there will be a lot of investors that we kind of need to take money from, right? You need to manage investors' expectation, keep customers happy. There will be something or other that will not work, right? Once we build a product, it obviously will not meet all the expectations. So how do you manage these conflicts, right? And I think the biggest challenge, like the another biggest issue in startup is there will be so many issues, right? But team will be looking up to you, right? So you need to really motivate the team in all these challenging times, right? I mean, at the same time, you cannot hide things, right? As in a startup, everything will be transparent. Everybody in the organization knows everything. So we need to bring in that positivity, uh, and at the same time, be fully transparent on all the challenges the company is facing. Right. So I think that's, I would say, some set of challenges we faced and all other startups will go through. Any other questions? Yeah. So again, first thing, not understanding customers. We talked about it, right? So people just build it. So that's, I think, the most critical thing. And then the second thing is, I would say, building the right team, right? I think people see startups. We keep seeing a lot of positive news around startups, right? That this company has become that big, etc. All that, but there is a lot of failures as well, right? So I think, especially for your generation, right? I think when compared to the previous generations, things have been relatively easy, right? Again, I'm saying relative, it's not easy for everybody and all, I know that, right? Things are, everything comes probably easier to you than what it was in from the previous generation, right? But in startup, it's not easy. Everything is very, very tough. The default situation is failure, right? So one needs to be extremely resilient to withstand these failures, right? And one should have the thick skin, right, to kind of absorb it and move forward, right? Because nothing will go as per the plan in a startup, right? A lot of people jump into startups assuming that, oh, okay, I read that, I saw that, and it might be like, oh, okay, I'll become big, right? It is very, very hard. It takes time. So one needs to have that right mindset, right? And I think another uh, important thing is one should have that, one should be grounded that, okay, I don't know majority of the stuff. I am open to learn. You need to be open to learn from every conversation, anyone who is ready to help. That if you one goes with a mindset that I know everything, I'll change the world, for sure they will fail. Right? Because there is so much that each of us don't know. Right. So I would say these are some of the things that come on top of my mind. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's a very interesting question there. So I keep thinking, okay, if I know 15 years back, I need to go through all this for doing startup. Will I do it again? Yeah, that's a question that I also don't have a very clear answer, right? It's really tough. Uh, but I think one needs to have that desire that, okay, that I'm going to make something big, right? I think that end goal, right? That probably keeps one face all these things. And if one goes with the practical understanding that it's not easy, it's probably makes it little easier. I mean, anyway, you signed up for this, so one needs to go through it. Marketing, okay, yeah. So I think from a marketing standpoint, right, a lot of times what we think marketing is, we just say there are 100 people here. I come and say that, hey, I have the best product. I have the best product. Or we see in, say, IPL matches, somebody is saying, okay, this is, you have to buy this, you have to use this service, right? That's not actually the real marketing that is useful for a startup, right? So it all marketing is matching the need with your solution, right? It's not about how loud you shout, how big you market, right? It's all about how small but relevant you do the marketing. I again was telling the example of our initial customer, Bloomberg in Shield Square, a startup, right? There was a CTO in New York who was managing Bloomberg website. He wants to detect, he's looking for a solution which detects bots. So my goal of marketing is just to be in front of him. He should know that our product exists. That's the goal of marketing, right? My goal of marketing is not that everybody who watches IPL match knows about Shield Square, right? Because there's no use, right? So marketing has to be extremely targeted. So everything starts with understanding your target customer. Who are your target customers? If students are my target customer, how can I reach the students, right? And there is a lot of noise all across, right? So how can you creatively reach students and stand out of the crowd? I'll tell one more interesting example of marketing. Um, so people heard of Salesforce? Anybody? Salesforce is a very global, uh, big company. They have a lot of software used by all global enterprises. Right? So they do something called Dreamforce event in San Francisco, where thousands of customers attend. Like whole San Francisco city is that they packed with the attendees of San Francisco. All roads, everything will be blocked for this conference. And they're like multi-billion-dollar company. And one of their competitor is Joho. It's an Indian Chennai-based company I was referring to, right? They compete with Salesforce. So Salesforce was spending tens, hundreds of millions of dollars in organizing this event to promote their solutions to the customers. Joho has a very good offering, right? They don't spend a lot of money on the marketing, right? But they're much cost effective because they don't spend a lot of money, right? Product wise, it's on par with Salesforce. So what Joho did that time when the Dreamforce event was happening is obviously the Dreamforce event is a Salesforce event. So you cannot go and put a board of Joho promoting Joho products, right? Obviously Joho is a competitor. But there are like tens of thousands of attendees who come across the globe attend the event. So what these guys did, all these attendees have to come through the airport. So what they did in that 3 days of event, they bought all the signages in airport and advertised on how Joho is much cost effective and better than Salesforce. Right. So they probably spent 1/1000th of the money of Salesforce, but actually they got much more recognition. I mean, all newspapers were carrying about Joho's innovative ad strategy that 3 days. Right. So that's a classic example of marketing, right, where you focus on your target audience, figure out an innovative way to reach them in the budget that you have with real value to the customer, right? So effectively, Joho is much cost effective to the customer than Salesforce. And they put that valid point in front of all the customers, right? So those are the kind of things that one needs to look at when one needs to market startups because the big guys have so much money, right? So many people to do the marketing. You cannot compete with them on the money and the people, right? So you need to compete with them on creative, innovative ways, reaching the target audience. Right? So does that answer the question? Yes. Any other questions? What success means to me or to the company? Okay. See, I think To me, success to company is like, okay, we are generating employment in India, right? So it impacts this economy as a whole, right? And then success means that, okay, we have created something new that was not there before and which is solving customers' problem, right? I think that's what we really look at, right? And also, basically, for all the people who have been part of this journey, right? Are they successful, right? Are they happy with the financial outcome they got, right? For the learning that they have, be it the employees, the investors, all the stakeholders who believed in this journey, right? So I think I would say these are the success aspects. Yeah. So I think that's certainly a big challenge, right? And I think that's also one of the areas where this networking helps, right? So I think there are a lot of startup events that happen, right? Where prospective entrepreneurs who want to start up join, right? In fact, the first investor that we got, I met him in a conference. Okay, and I just pitched our product, what we are trying to do, etc. Not as an investor, just as a senior person in the industry, take his feedback. And we were in touch for a year, and I met him multiple times on multiple occasions. We were trying to sell our product to to their organization. They liked the product, and after multiple conversation, he said, "Okay, I'll invest in you." Right. So similarly, I know a lot of people who met even the co-founders in various of these events, right? Or they probably collaborated in a project in the past, etc. And they finally decided to be the co-founders. So I think it's all about being open, network with as many people with a very open mind, right? I mean, obviously, you should not think of for every interaction, oh, will this guy be my future co-founder? Yeah, not needed, right? But I think it's all about the network. Right? The more network you have, right, and when you want to do something, right, a lot of people can be your potential customers, right? Can be your co-founders, can be your employees, can be your investors, right? So it's all about meeting as many people as possible, right? And it need not be from the college. It will be also from our town, from our relatives, etc. Whoever are there in the industry and the areas where we are interested, I think it's very important to be in touch with them, be proactive, reach out to them, understand what they are doing, and we never know what will turn out to be what in future. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, See, there are, if you look at, say, 25 years back, right, the first wave of Indian technology evolution was all services. We have the Infosys of the world, TCS, Cognizant, right, where there was a customer, he wanted these companies to do some specific thing that needs people, process, quality of deliveriness, and these companies have done a phenomenal job, right? And then there was this whole movement that was the initial services wave, right? And then came products, right? Now all the things that we use, say Google, uh, say WhatsApp, these are all products, right? So the products have a huge advantage, right? But at the same time, very high risk. Services, okay, customer asks this, I just deliver it, he pays it, that's it. And for me to get paid again, I have to find another customer, make profit in each of the things. But for product, you need to build something. You don't know whether people will use it, right? So the chances of failure are high, but once successful, it is has a huge potential, right? So I would say that future is for products. India has been always very strong in services, but now we are seeing more and more products which are global stage, right? The future Google's, WhatsApp, Teslas of the world are going to come from India, right? And now we have the right skill sets, people with experience, etc. And things have become a level playing field, right? So now whether you are in Tiruchi or Bangalore or San Francisco or New York, it really doesn't matter, right? You can build something which is of use to somebody, it's fine. So that way, I think product has huge potential, right? Then there is now thing called software as a service, SaaS. People say it's a kind of a product, but it is sold as a service, right? You pay monthly for the subscription, etc. Like what we use for say Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc. These are effectively products, but you don't need to spend lakhs of rupees, but you pay monthly for the subscription, etc. But again, it's a software as service, comes under the product umbrella. So I would say, yeah, products are the ones which has the highest potential, and the future is that. Yeah. And nothing to demean services. Services, the learnings we had in services, the people who have worked in Infosys, etc., are the ones who are building the products now, right? So first you need to know things, and services will give you things on how to uh, understand customers' requirement, build products, so that we can build products on our own. Any other question? Yeah. Yeah, I think it is related to question we got before. So as I was saying, its first step is getting advisors, join an incubator or an accelerator who will give you the connections, right? So a lot of people raise funding through two means, right? One through friends and family, right? Which probably becomes difficult when you are just out of college or in college, right? So other is like the professional capital outside, right? So there, I think you need to build the network, people who can really say that, okay, what you are doing makes sense, right? So I think there are a lot of accelerators, incubators out there, which take idea stage startups and they mentor people on how to raise funding, etc. So right now there is this whole issue, right? There is a lot of people who want to invest in startups, but don't know which startups to invest. There are a lot of entrepreneurs who want to raise money, right? But they don't know how to raise the money, right? So I think it's all about building that network so that we can bridge. People have to trust, right? So the biggest issue for an investor is that, okay, I give some 10 lakhs to this guy, and after 10 days, he'll say, I'm bored, and he shuts down the company, right? So there is a huge risk for the investor. So how can you give him that comfort? So somebody has to back you. So I think, yeah, you should also leverage the networks of your faculty, of your professors. The reason I am here was I'm a student of your director, Professor N.V.S.N. Sharma in NIT Warangal, right? So I, the reason I am here was that, right? So all your professors, faculty have their connections, right? So they can also help you refer to people in the industry who can be an advisor, who can be an investor, etc., based on the area that you want to pursue. Yes. Yeah. See, like for example, when you say backend infrastructure, UPI could be one. Like, yes, right. See, the thing is, there are few things that are left to say government or the bigger organization. Like say, for example, UPI is not built by a startup, right? It's a government initiative, right? So startups can really leverage that UPI and apply that, right? Like for example, right? Now we keep hearing a lot of things on generative AI, chat GPT and stuff like that, right? So we can leverage that advanced technologies, right, to solve the problems in grassroots, right? So now we have so many issues in agriculture, so many issues in governance, etc. Right? All of that can be solved using these advanced technologies, right? So that way, I feel that a lot of back-end infrastructure is already available, right? It's only about applying that to solving the specific problem. I think that's a easier, I would say, low-hanging fruit, where uh, at young age, right, in college, just right out of college, you can go and apply. That would be much easier than, say, in college, if I want to say that, okay, I will build something like UPI, it's going to be difficult. You need to go and convince government, you need to convince a lot of people, which will take time. You will probably go there. Right? Nandan Nilekani has done that in UPI, but he has spent 30, 40 years building Infosys, building all the connections before he did that, right? So, so start small, take low hanging fruits, right? So you can always, I think in college, you can always look at some applications, some startup ideas, targeting your age group, right? Targeting engineering students, things like that, right? Because you can relate to, right? It's very difficult for you guys to start building something for doctors. It's very difficult at this point. So the closer you are to the customer, the easier you understand the customer problem and you can solve it. It makes it more easier. Yeah. Any other question? Good. Excellent. So beyond the points that we just talked, right, in terms of the technical skills, soft skills, right? I think during your college, internships are a great way, right, for you to learn things, right? It's more practical, right? And don't limit yourself to saying that, okay, I want to build an app, right? Yeah, that's a good thing. You can build an app. That's a good internship. But you need to understand various aspects of a business, right? Like, for example, support, customer support, right? If you get an opportunity to intern as a customer support engineer, take it, right? Because you get to speak to customers. You will understand how to interact with customers. A lot of people have this mindset that, oh, customer support is not very fancy job. Or somebody asks a question, I need to check and give a response. It's not so easy, right? And that skills are extremely important. How to interact with customers, right? How to solve customers' problem, right? A lot of soft skills come into picture. You need to also understand a lot technically to be in front of customer and convince him, right? So explore various other roles of internships. You can explore doing a marketing internship, sales internship, right? You can explore selling some product, right? It will be very hard, but you will get an understanding. You'll also know that, okay, am I enjoying this? Right? Is this kind of career that I want to pursue, etc. So experiment a lot during internships. Again, take help of your network, build your network, go to your people that you know in your families, in your towns, who are there in industry, ask them, can they give some internship? Right. So you need not travel to some place to do internship. A lot of companies offer remote internships. Right. And even if because it's remote, you can work, stay in college or in home and do the internship. I mean, there is not much cost for you, right? So there are also a lot of unpaid internships that are there. There are websites which offers internships. So be proactive, go apply, do it. I mean, irrespective of whether you get paid or not, you will gain a lot. And those learnings will be invaluable for you in your career, whether you want to start up or grow in your career or land your dream job. Internships super important. And don't think that internships are for final years. You can start today, first year. You can learn, right? So a lot of people think that okay, third year, fourth year is the time I will be prepared for job market or interviews or for my internships. No, it starts from year one. See, I'm sure that all of you have spent a lot of time, energy cracking your JEE. That's why you are here, right? But I want to remind all of you that JEE is just an entrance examination. It's not the end, right? It's just before the start. It just got you here, right? It doesn't mean anything else, right? The real work has to start today. I know a lot of people. I was in NIT Varangal. I was at the time there was no JEE, so we had MSET in Andhra. So I was had got 39th rank across the state, and there were like people who are that's not a big thing now. Yeah, I know people who got much single-digit ranks in my college, right? Again, not going to the names. So they thought that okay, they came to NIT Varangal, they are like the best of the best, and they took it lightly, right? And they really struggled later in their career, and it really took a while for them to come back, right? So I strongly urge all of you, things have just started. Whatever you studied till now really doesn't matter, right? So whatever you have to work for your career future has to start now. A lot of people reach out to me in final years that how should I prepare for campus interviews? It's too late. Final year, you cannot, it's not like exam where we do night out and complete the exam, right? So companies, when, I mean, we reach out to students in final year campus, we are not testing whether they mugged up in the last 1 week, they prepared for all the frequently asked questions, etc. Right? We want to know what they learned in the last 4 years. So leverage all these 4 years, starting from today. I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, you need not study as hard as you studied for your JEE, right? But keep the momentum, keep studying, keep doing things, learning things every day, right? And then I think you need not really ask anyone like how to crack a campus interview, how to get your dream job. They will come to you. More than you are looking for good jobs, companies I know on the other side are looking for good people. They are more desperate than you. If you are good, they will come and find you. Okay? But you need to be good, right? So that you need time. You cannot just make it happen in a week's time, right? So use all these 4 years from today, learn all the skills that you like. Okay, you need not. I mean, so you can learn a lot of things even in sports, right? So I'm saying make it across, right? Sports, you get to work in teams, right? So there are a lot of leadership skills, cultural things, right? Creative things, right? So that you can do whatever you like, right? But do things. Don't take things lightly that, okay, I'll see in third year how to get jobs. Some senior told me that, okay, first 2 years take lightly, third year you study these subjects, data structures, C programming, you'll get a job, right? Yeah, you'll probably get a job, but is that, are you reaching your potential? Probably no. Yeah, so again, on internships, coming back, work with startups, engage in internships in startups than bigger companies because you get to see the founders, you get to speak to senior people, you get to see what's happening across functions in a startup. I think that's very, very useful as well. We'll have a few more slides on working in a startup, why working in a startup before starting up is a great thing. But even for internships, explore startups, right? Startups also want a lot of interns, right? But they don't have visibility, right? They don't have time to go to all colleges and hire interns, right? But you can certainly reach out to startups. You can do your own research. What are all small companies? For every big company, there are hundreds of small companies doing really cutting edge, great work, right? So you have to do your homework on identifying those companies. Reach out to the founders, reach out to the people in startups on LinkedIn, saying that I'm interested. I want to do an internship. They'll be more than happy because people are looking for proactive people who reach out. Nobody wants to spoon feed anybody, right? So do that effort. I'm sure you will get so many opportunities that you can never imagine. Right? So, any questions so far? Okay. Yeah, on track, on time. You guys need a small break? No. Okay. No was louder, so I will take it as a no. So yeah, so let's switch gears little bit and talk about startup mindset. The answer is on the slides. See, startup mindset is not about starting up, right? Not about building a business or anything, right? It's just about the way of thinking and approaching and solving challenges. Right? So I think this is a very foundational skill that one need if you want to succeed in life. I'm not even saying succeed in your career. I'm saying succeed in life. We are having a happy, peaceful, successful life. Right? This mindset is very essential. So what is it, right, that we are talking about in startup mindset? It's about being adaptable, right? Because things will not be as what we planned. We have to be flexible to adapt to the situation. Unfortunately, a lot of us, when we were in school, etc., a lot of things are very organized, planned. You need to do this, you need to get this many marks in JEE, this is what you need to get in your 10th class, right? This is what you need to go to school after school, these are the activities you need to do. So everything's are organized, right? But life outside is not that, right? So you need to adapt when there are issues, when things have to change, etc. So I think that's very, very critical. And then second thing, be innovative, right? So a lot of us keep reading in newspapers that India has this problems, that doesn't work, this doesn't work, that is a issue, this is a issue, so many things, right? These are all problems, great, but they're actually opportunities, right? Can you innovatively solve those challenges, right? Don't, I mean, lot of people keep saying that, oh, okay, why it's not like that? Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah. Once you probably become elder, and that's something you can do yourself, right? So things were like that because nobody probably questioned that. So you can actually question, and that could be a startup idea itself. Right? So being innovative is very important. And then I think most important one is again being quick. Right? The problem with big companies or big institutions, organizations is they have a lot of process so that things don't break, but they cannot do things quickly. They take their own sweet time. By that time, things would have changed outside, right? So startup mindset, you can take the decisions very fast, right? That makes all the change, right? That's the reason why a lot of innovation, a lot of new things come from a startup, not from the big companies, because big companies are very slow. They take their own time. But being quick is very, very important. Yeah. And I think everything boils down to in startup mindset, creating your own path. There is no fixed path, right? So, and being resilient, right? So you need to really get hit hard, fall, then stand and learn from it and do it again. Right? I think that's very, very important. Though I said that, yeah, big companies are slow, things like that, right? Things are changing a lot. Now, big companies are also embracing the startup mindset. A lot of bigger companies encourage people to work, spend some part of their time beyond their regular work activities to work on innovative stuff. Like all of you use Gmail, probably, right? Gmail was a pet project of one of the employees of Google. He was doing in some other product, some doing some activity. He came up with this idea, built his own product, and showed it to the Google that this is something I'm doing in my spare time, and that became a product. So a lot of big companies are also encouraging people to have this startup mindset and work on new innovative ideas. A lot of people, a lot of you might have used post-it notes, small notes that we can stick. That's a product of 3M. That's the most popular product of 3M. That was also done as a side project by one of the employees. So a lot of companies also encourage this startup mindset. So having this will really help in growing in these companies as well. So yeah, any questions, Vikas? Okay, so now I have, I think, yeah, few more slides on value of working in startup first. We briefly talked about it when I said that you should do internships in startups while you are in college, right? Even when you are graduating out of college, before you actually do a startup, I strongly encourage everyone to first work in a startup. It gives you much more exposure than an MBA or anything else on startups without any risk. Right, in a startup, you have everything at stake. You have probably have to invest your own money. You don't take salary, everything, right? But when you are working in a startup, you still get paid. Right, probably you will not have a big brand like Google, uh, but it could be the future Google, right? You never know. But irrespective of that, you get to learn a lot of things. First is you get a lot of visibility on what really the startup is, right? However much time that I say what is a startup, you will not really understand it unless you work in a startup, right? So I think that visibility is extremely important. And the great part in startup is you get to wear multiple hats, right? It just getting things done is important. You could be a developer, you will be doing testing, you will be doing analysis, you might be doing some marketing, you will also probably be speaking to a customer, whatnot. Everything you will have opportunities. to work in a startup, right? So I think that's a great thing for you also to know which kind of career you want to take, etc. Right? And obviously, if you want to do a startup, you get all this exposure very easily. And also, the startup teams are much close knit. They're much smaller teams, and they're very build much stronger rapport, right? And as you grow in your career, these team members will be hugely helpful for you, right? Unlike in a bigger companies where you only get to interact with very few specific people, and the interaction will also be probably limited. So I think these are one of the very important reasons why one should look at working in a startup first for a few years before you want to start. And then obviously in terms of growth, right, the growth in a startup is huge. You get to work on cutting edge stuff, a lot of new skills you can acquire, right? And you're expected to learn very fast new things. In big companies, okay, you are a Java developer, you are expected to do Java, right? And tomorrow they have something on, say, Node.js, they will probably hire some expert in Node.js. But in startup, it doesn't work that way. You are a Java developer, tomorrow some project needs Node.js, you're expected to learn and do things, right? So you get to learn a lot of new technologies. You can also have an opportunity to lead. In big companies, okay, if you want to lead teams, etc., say there's 6 years experience, 10 years experience, etc. In startup, you just need to get things done. If you're interested to lead small teams, and if you have proven yourself in the project before, then there is a need, they just give you. And if you cannot do it, that's fine, you go back to your previous role. So I think that also helps you to grow very fast in your career. And again, you get to see really what are the challenges they face day in, day out, etc. Right? So I think that also really will be very helpful for you to become more successful and grow in your career. And working in a startup is a great way to build your network as well. So we talked about how you can build your network while in college. Right? So similarly, after once you graduate from college, right, to build the next level of network, working in a startup is a huge opportunity. Again, you get to work with founders, senior members very closely. In the big company, you'll have probably 10 people in the hierarchy from, say, CEO to entry position, right? But in a startup, you get to interact with founder daily or very often, right? You see a lot of times in big companies, what will happen is you will be informed that, hey, you do this. And next week they will say, no, we are not doing that. We are going to do this. There will be 1, 2 bullet points why we did that. Okay, so you'll not have really the visibility on why things have changed, what went behind for this decision to get changed. But in a startup, you'll be part of those meetings where all those things were discussed, right? So you'll know how people think, how decisions are made. Not only implementing the decision, you'll know the real dynamics that happen, right? All of this cannot be read in a book, cannot be learned in an MBA. It has to be learned by seeing. And working in a startup will give you that visibility. And again, I talked about events earlier as well, right? So there will be a lot of startup events that happen. While working in a startup, you get to also participate in those events and meet with other startups, meet other customers. There will be a lot of customer events that you will probably have visibility to attend, etc. And also you will have a lot of partners. In startup, everything cannot be done by the startup itself, so they collaborate, partner with various other organizations. You also get to interact with different companies, people in different companies. That will also help you to grow your network. And all of this will really help while you want to start on your own. Any questions so far? I think we are coming to close of our session. So let's see if we have questions and we'll spend some time. You have an idea and you have a board member. Yeah. Okay. See, actually, um, board members actually don't do any specific activity. All right. So board members give general direction and guidance on are we in the right path. The board typically consists of experts in the industry. Say you are working in education domain, you are building an app for students, right? So your board might be somebody who is a professor who has a lot of experience. So he could be a board member. So these are all have their own job. They are doing their part of the board as a part-time person, giving their idea, right? Are we in the right direction? Are we doing the right thing? So there might be an expert from marketing, there might be an expert from technology, etc. But they will all validate the founder's idea and the direction. And once the board agrees that okay, this is the direction we want to build this product for this features for this quarter, etc. Right? Founder proposes, board says okay, they give suggestions. They don't take decisions; they just give guidance. Okay, and then it's all up to founder to execute. So founder has to build his team, right? So he might have a CTO to who takes care of the technology, building the product, etc. He might have a vice president sales who goes and sells the product. He will have somebody who is the head of support who ensures that customers are happy and their issues are resolved, etc. So all of that he has to do it through his team. And most of the times when you are in a very, very early stage, you have to probably do everything yourself. Or like if there are two founders, they have to do it themselves, etc. And I always encourage that yeah, you at least have two founders while starting up because startup is very lonely job, right? And having somebody else to brainstorm, to do things will really help. So, and also look at people who complement your skills. You are very good at technology, but somebody is very good at understanding customer, etc. They form a good complementary skills. More than complement, I think it's just that people should have trust, right? They should believe in each other, etc. Right? So I think once that is there, yeah, complementary skills is good to have. Any other question? Marketing platform to learn marketing or to do marketing? Okay, okay. So when you say platform, it's learning, right? Which tools you need to learn, something like that. Okay. Yeah, so certainly I think you need to understand how Google works, right? Google search engine optimization. If somebody, you are searching for something, best colleges in South India, right? So Google gives some results, right? How that results happen, right? If you want to know best app for specific things like um, networking, right? So how your content should come up in Google, I think that's something one should know because Google is the place where we search for information, right? So it becomes very important for marketing. Right there, on a related note, how can you advertise your products on Google, etc. I think that's very, very important. It all comes under digital marketing. So now, being technology students, etc., I think everybody should have an understanding of digital marketing. And all these things are there out there. I mean, Google offers free training, and you can have your free account set up to understand how Google search engine marketing happens. So I think that's a good platform to start. Any other? Yes, yes, yeah. So there is a lot of, people call hype cycles. There will be a lot of hype on few things, and it will die down. New thing comes. Earlier there was a lot of hype on blockchain. Now nobody even talks about it. Bitcoin and stuff like that. There are a lot of things that have hype, but there are a lot of things that are real, right? So I think more than even say artificial intelligence, data science, right? I think the most real thing that has disrupted the technology industry, if you're talking about computers, IT, right, is cloud technologies. That has, yeah, cloud, be it AWS. or any of these cloud platforms. So earlier it was used to be people have with data centers, people have a lot of applications, a lot of boxes on which servers upon which these applications run, etc. And those things are like very difficult to manage, things like that. But now, last decade, things have completely changed. Now everything is on cloud, right? You can build any application on the cloud. There's very less maintenance, much high availability, right? So I think cloud technologies have certainly transformed a lot. So I think foundationally focusing on getting expertise in the cloud technologies is very, very important, right? And one thing that all of us, you should also understand is for all the things that are hyped up, right? Be it the good ones that has potential, be it data science, artificial intelligence, cloud, etc. The fundamentals are still the same, right? The fundamentals of how, say, operating system works, the data structure, the basic concepts of programming, right? The basic networking aspects, those remain the same. Without understanding these aspects, if you look at artificial intelligence or say cloud technologies or mobile apps, none of it is of use, right? Unless you have the strong foundations. So my strong recommendation is focus a lot on strong fundamentals. Once you have strong fundamentals in place, then I think you should certainly look at areas that has a lot of merit. Cloud technologies has a lot of merit. Mobile applications have really disrupted the way people communicate, etc. So certainly mobile apps, be it Android, iOS, things around that has a lot of merit, right? And related to cloud software as a service, SaaS applications have a lot of huge potential. Uh, and then, of course, yeah, you mentioned data science, artificial intelligence. Uh, they are obviously very uh, impactful and useful. Yeah. Yeah, I think understand your customer, understand if you're solving a big enough problem, validate with customers, and then start. I think that's the big advice. Any other questions? Best reading, training, trading for beginners. Elaborate trading in the sense, yeah, yeah, stock market. Understand. So I'm not expert in that, so I don't know so much. But um, yeah, I mean, I cannot think of anything specific. Anything else? Yeah. So I think, okay, I think I'm almost done with my slides. I think we are doing ahead of time, so I'll leave extra time for you. Uh, so I think I'm really happy to have come down from Bangalore, spend this time with you. I really see a lot of energy, excitement, and ambition in all of you. Right, I could see what I was 20 years back, sitting on that side. I see all of you having similar potential. I really hope and wish that you become hugely successful in whatever path you want to pursue, be it startups, corporate careers, or your own path. And all the very best. Thank you.
Great is the art of beginning, but greater is the art of the end. Once again, on behalf of our beloved first years, I would like to extend our heartfelt thank you to you, sir, for igniting an innovative spark in our minds. Once again, thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for your favorite time of the day. It's time for lunch. We will be back soon in the afternoon session. Thank you for attending. Thank you, sir.